Hello. In this video we're going to take a look at some of the notable items on the ontap menu bar, and we can start with the file menu, which is fairly standard. There are some most recently used items you can select from: new project, open project. In the controllers menu there are some tasks that need to be done. For example, matching up your serial vector format files that you either imported or created on the development screen, and they need to be matched up. The JTAG chains in those files need to be matched up with a channel on the USB controller. For example, in this case, our interconnect test, which only has one chain, chain A, it's matched to this USB controller, channel A, and in addition, the TCK rate can be changed. So anyway, once those are matched up, in some cases you may have multiple chains in a JTAG file, and that's where this is most important, so that each of those JTAG chains is matched to the appropriate USB controller channel. So then you would write your adapter file and then click OK, and you're ready to go there. So the other item here is viewer, and for viewer it's important to select the viewer that you want to use. So throughout ontap, if you want to look at files, what you're going to be doing is using the viewer of your choice. So with this tool you can browse to the viewer that you wish to use. In our case we use TextPad from textpad.com because it's very suitable in quite a few different situations within ontap. In the Tools menu we have a number of items. For example, you can check the BSDL syntax by browsing to a BSDL file, and it will do a syntax check for you. In a similar way, you can check the syntax of your DTS cluster test models. You can compose a netlist using just BSDL files, and in this case what you would do is browse to the project folder with those BSDL files. It would list the BSDL files, and you can list any number of reference designators on your PCB, match the BSDL files to them, and then create a netlist based on that. So obviously it wouldn't have any non-JTAG parts in it because you're not importing a CAD netlist, but it would allow you to get going and do your basic essential boundary scan operations. So let's see, in addition you can do things like merge netlists. Here you can have any number of netlists, say from different printed circuit boards, and you can merge them connector to connector using these controls. And once you're done, you can simply treat this as one large project full solution. So we're going to cancel out of there for now. Go back to Tools. So we merge netlists. You can summarize and view test reports, but we're going to cover that in the Reports menu. And extract BOM information. For example, low impedance netlist parts. They may be different than you have on your CAD netlist. You may prefer to use the parts described in your bill of material. You can add alternate ID codes. So, for example, if you were to browse and select an SVF, you can add alternate ID codes for that SVF. You can either edit these ID codes in place or insert alternate ID codes, or insert the ID codes that have actually been measured on your part as alternates. So we'll continue, take a look at some of the other tools. Those are the major ones for the Tools menu. Debug has a number of items. For example, the Show Me tool will break down a cluster test as it's running. Let me just show you a show me file. And what it does is it shows you all of the instructions that you're running. For example, your cluster test may have many for loops or while loops, a lot of flow control, calling subroutines. And each time any instruction is executed, it will show you that instruction, and then it will show you for that instruction what the values are. For example, a pin group, add the ADDR pin group, and then for each pin in the pin group, for various variables you have, it will show you those values. So you can use this to trace the activity in your DTS file as you're running in your cluster test, as you're running through it. So we will leave that for now and go on to the next. Over on this page, setup page for Show Me, it will show you your cluster test, and then it will show you the pins, pin groups, and variables that you've selected to watch. We'll get out of there. Let's see. You can elect to log test data out. You can get all of the scan data for each scan that you're running. Breakout is another tool that can be quite valuable. It's a little bit advanced, so we're not going to get into it here. And then Celia, we have some items for Celia that will enable capturing data and comparing data, in particular to your SVF files, to see how well your SVF file scans match up with the Celia data. The translator information, basically what you can do with this is convert certain types of files into Intel hex format for flash programming, for example, binary files. For netlists, ontap automatically determines what type of netlist you have in your folder and translates that. So in general, you really don't need to do anything with netlists. For reports, when ontap creates a test, it also scores it. And if you want to score multiple files, SVF files, together to see what the score is for your overall project, you can simply select the ones you want to include and then sum the checked, and you will get a testability report in the reports subdirectory of your project folder. With the deploy menu item, with this tool, what you can do is select the SVF files that you wish to deploy, and what that will do is create, it will take all of the SVF files and all the related files that you need for manufacturing test, and it will put them in a folder, test files for deployment. That can be very handy. The license menu will show you what license you're using, allow you to in the days of tech days of support remaining, and it will allow you to switch between different types of licenses. For example, in this case we have our license embedded in a JTAG cable. You could have one embedded in a USB dongle, or you could use a network license or a node lock license, especially in the case of demos. If you're using a network license, this area allows you to fill in client information.